Welcome to Agoracom Small Cap Best of the Best. This is our weekly show where we go over our chief market commentators' comments all week long on our daily show on the front page of Agoracom, and that's Alan Barry Laboucan. Alan, say hello to everyone.
Hello, everybody. It's Saturday, and we've got a great show set up for you. Got some good picks, and George and I will go over those. So we'll get started here.
All right, and for those of you who are new to the show, what we do here is Alan hosts a daily condensed show on the front page of Agoracom every day around noon, goes over the best news of the day, and fundamentally and technically puts those together, decides which ones he would pick, and then what we do at the end of the week is go over those. He selects his best ones during the week. So if you want to get them fresh, you got to watch the front page of Agoracom every day around noon. So Alan,
George, on that show, I always give people heads up on what ones I'm most likely to talk about on the Best of the Best show. So I don't get to talk about each individual company a whole lot on that show, but if they make it to the Best of the Best, we talk more about it.
Right, it's a condensed version at the end of the day. It's a fast version because people are too busy during the week, zap, and then here we stretch them out. And our track record is pretty damn good, and I'll be able to give you a more accurate update when Alan decides one of these months to actually give me his picks that he's made. Even though we have them, it's his job to track them, so everyone at home knows that. So eventually, every week he say, "Yeah, I'm going to work on this weekend," and we don't get it. But let's get to the picks. First up, Klondex Mines, KDX. I'm going to give you a screen share here so people can see what I'm talking about because they don't want to look in my face. All right, so here we are, Klondex Mines, KDX, TSX Big Board closed at $1.88. Generally does 120,000 shares in volume per day, so I like that liquidity, dollar value liquidity. Did 202,000 shares on Friday. So what's the big news there, and why the drop on the volume?
Yeah, they had news out, George, that they're now starting a decline into their Fire Creek deposit. So they're digging a tunnel basically into the Fire Creek deposit down in Nevada. And as they're doing that, they're taking that rock sample for assaying, and they got a really monstrously good numbers, 74.9 grams per ton gold, so 2 ounces per ton gold over 25 meters of strike length in this underground tunnel. I really like those kind of results. I'm going to pull up the stock chart now. Just give me a second here, George.
And you might as well tell everyone who the stock chart is from in the meantime. Okay, how about this? When you get it up, you get it up. I'm going to go to the chart over here on my end until you get it up. So, as most of you know, Alan is the fundamental long-term investor. I'm more the trader at the end of the day, short terms. That's the way we bring you the best of both worlds. As always, you've got to do your own due diligence. We have much different risk assessments than you might at home and risk aversions. So I'm taking a look at this. It's okay. I'm not thrilled with that. What's happening here? The MACD the histogram seems to get weaker. Relative strength seems to be on the weakish side. Nothing here thrills me for me to jump out and go buy this. I think it's got some pretty strong resistance here. It's running up against its 25-day moving average, 12-day, 25-day, and 50-day is all right here in this range, and I don't see anything that makes me feel as if this is going to power through. So I'll pass on the short-term trading. But Alan, you got your screen up. Tell us what you think about the long term.
Yeah, now I got my chart up there. You guys can notice my fancy chart. It comes from the folks over at Chart IQ, who are kind enough to have given me a membership to use it on the show and showcase it, and I think it's great. It works really good for me. I can save all my favorite indicators, and it just makes life a lot easier. And I think it's very easy to look at. So I like Chart IQ. Go check them out, chartiq.com. So I've got the KDX Klondex chart up here, and a lot of times, George, we're looking at some pretty short-term trends. A lot of times we'll look at what's sort of happening in this range kind of over a few-month period. But what I want to look back at is here, you look back at these June and July lows. And since then, it's been on a pretty classic sort of bullish trend. Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. Now it's got a higher low. And from what this company is announcing on their projects, I just like everything that I'm seeing with this company. Now, on the stock chart, I think that we've finished off the low here and are now looking to trend upwards. The MACD is, now it's bouncing off that zero line. Does it dip below or keep going above? Look at this performance over the last year, George. It's spent the whole year practically above that zero line. So I think that the zero line is a good indicator of when things are about to get stronger.
Okay. Yeah, I can buy into that.
And then you look at the histogram; it's starting to try to get more positive.
What's your timeline? What's your timeline on that? Because I've got a 1-year timeline and shows the histogram's actually getting a little bit weaker, whereas yours, mine's in the green. You can see it here. So here's the histogram right here. It had some decent strength. Now that strength is weakening. So I'm showing positive territory but weakening. You're showing negative territory but strengthening. I'm working on a 1-year timeline, a 1-year chart here. You too?
Mine's 12.26.9, just your standard MACD.
Yeah. Okay. We're showing something a little. Okay, if we're showing something a little different, we'll figure that out later. I'm not sure why that's there, but based on what you're saying, yeah, I can buy into some of the logic there.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, good fundamentals, long-term bullish trend, and they're just getting better and better news. So I like the whole combination on this one.
I got to tell you from looking at your chart, I do like the fact that you can almost draw a straight line from the July lows. I'm not sure if you're able to do that, Alan, when with your chart IQ there, but you can almost draw a straight line, and seems like to be bouncing right off of off the trend, starting from that July low. Right?
Here, I can draw a line. I know what you're talking about. You keep talking, George. I'll find it.
All right. Yeah, but that's all I got to say about it. I don't think there's much more for me to say. If you can draw a line quickly, great. If you can't, not a big deal. We'll hop on the next one. But I do like that trend. That definitely showed a resilience there and an ability to do that. Next up, we'll move on to the next one. Don't worry about that. That was a small thing there towards the end. Next up here is ROX Gold. ROG on the TSX Venture Exchange closed at 70 cents on Friday. I actually bought and sold this one, so I'm going to propagate this symbol here. I've actually bought and sold this one in the past, not anytime recently, but you can see it's had some pretty tremendous last July. Look at that monster move from sub 40 to over 70, back on down, back on up, back down, back up. So this is a great trader, mind you. I haven't taken advantage of it the last 6-9 months, but on average it trades 560,000 shares a day, which I like because we talk about 70 cents, and you're talking about somewhere between $35,000 and $40,000, $350,000 to $400,000 a day in dollar volume liquidity, which for our kind of traders is good. So what's going on over at ROX Gold that's got it peaking again, Alan?
Well, ROX Gold just had some really good drill results out from their project in Burkina Faso, West Africa. For example, 226 grams per ton gold over 3.1 meters. Included in that was a subinterval of 442 grams per ton gold over 1.6 meters. I mean, these are numbers that you generally only get in like with silver numbers. Very good intersections, good grades. I like the combination of all that. Now looking at the stock chart, this one made the lows back in December there. Like a lot of stocks, we talked about that. Made a nice run up till in early March. Took some gains, but not a lot of those gains. And now it looks like this chart, instead of a move like this, which is not that sustainable, I think that this upwards move is much more sustainable. As it gets close to these bottoms here, see this bottom here, and I think we've had another one now. Those are good, buying opportunities in this stock, and I think that it won't be long before they're making new 52-week highs.
What is it? Let's take a look at the 52-week high at my end here. Looks
I
like
think it's
it's
about 80 cents or something like that.
right here. Looks like 74 was the trading high, so it's not that far off right now. Me too on this one. I'm not thrilled with the chart again. It looks like, especially when I look at your candlesticks too, which are a little more obvious, and you'll point out there in a second. It looks like it's tried to push higher a couple of times. It's had 3 days of, the 3 of the last 4 days, it's tried to make a higher push and keeps getting pushed back at resistance at that 74-cent, 75-cent range, which appears to be its 52-week high. Why don't you point that out on your chart there, Alan?
Yeah, what George is sort of showing here is the possibility that we might be having a double top here, and it's failing. You've got a couple candlesticks here that, they've got a pretty wide range for the day.
And they're trying to make that push up. They're trying to make that push up, but look,
they're
getting
failing.
beat down. It keeps failing, and that's not a good sign.
Yeah, so now the question is, does the bottoming price hold, or does the roof cave in? Sort of, and I think we'll see the bottom hold and bounce off of that. And George is worried about the possibility that the roof is going to come down because this is a second sort of top here, so we might have a double top.
And I want to show everyone this. So I've got the 2-year chart here, right? Okay, this is a 2-year chart. That's the 52-week high right there. I've got the cross. You can see the crosshairs there.
Yes, I can. Yeah, maybe could make that cell bigger, George, so we could see better.
Let me do this.
I don't know if you're able, there.
Right there. All right, so it's had real difficulty getting through this point, getting through this mid-low 73, 74-cent range. Okay, has been very difficult for the stock for whatever reason. So if it's sitting right back up here again, I'm not liking it. I'm only going to like it, so I'm going to zoom back out to the 1-year chart and even the 2-year chart. You can see that.
So George, you would agree that if it breaks through this level, then you would get more bullish.
Yeah, if I see 80, I jump all over it because that tells me that it's broken through that resistance, and when it breaks through that very strong, this area here where it just can't seem to get. We're talking about going right back to as far back as here. So we're talking about November 2012. Look at that, okay? If you can see the crosshairs. November 2012, that just hasn't been able to break that. It's tried once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. This is its 6th attempt. So I'm going to hold off because I don't like patterns like that. I'm more likely to short this than to buy it. So if I see 80 or 78, 79, I'm taking bites, that's for sure. But here I'm not a buyer.
One thing I'd say, George, is I'm noticing in your chart a little bit better than in mine that if you look at this period here, I'm pointing up the wrong screen. If you look at this period here, as it's bumping up against that roof you were talking about, this is a much longer period than the last time it bumped up against the roof back in here.
True. In of themselves, it's a longer, but if you expand over 2 years, it keeps. I'm taking it as one massive attempt to get through this stage, one big. So you're right about that, but when I take it up to the 2-year, I see this one long massive attempt to get through here, and it's not getting through. So I'm definitely more of a short at this range, or go long at 79, 80 cents. That's my call there. But remember, I'm a trader where I want to get in out of positions over anywhere from 3-day to 3-week period. Alan,
to 3 hours.
Nah, not really. Not on the venture. I might do that with a Facebook or something, but not with these venture companies. Not that much liquidity in them. But Alan, you've got your long-term fundamentals. So again, good thing about this is we're showing people this isn't a love-in. You've got great ideas. You're often very, very right. but I put those things to the test to give everyone something to think about it at the same time. Argonaut Gold is next. AR on the TSX. Love the liquidity. Trades about 800,000 shares a day. So we talk about a $4 stock. You're talking about over more than about $3.2 million in daily dollar liquidity. Closed at $3.95 on Friday on 540,000 shares. Look at that chart, and I know Argonaut Gold because they actually bought out one of my clients. I can't remember the name. A couple of years ago, they actually got a great project, and they bought it out. What do you like about Argonaut?
That was Prosper, or not Prosper? Prodigy. I think they bought out Prodigy.
Might have been another one, but might have been another one. But what do you see here? So these are the ones that scare me, right? This explains this, but you like these. So talk to me about what you're seeing here.
Well, you know, George, part of a lot of what I do is I'm trying to find swing trades, right? You're looking at day trades. I'm looking for swings. I'm looking for when something is bottomed out and it's ready to start to get more positive. The news that got on the show the other day was that Argonaut announced their first Q1 results. And in a market where a lot of companies are posting losses in the gold production business, Argonauts actually had a positive quarter. They were up. They earned $2.8 million in Q1. They also had other good numbers out there, increasing production, all that sort of good stuff. And you know, and they've got more than one mine, so they've got a good combination of fundamentals there. This is a producer. They've got a lot less risk to worry about. And I just like to see companies that are bucking the trend, where everyone's tacking in big losses. These guys have a gain. And so I'm looking at this chart, and it's been under pressure since August, almost a year now. Couldn't get out of its way, but now I think we've seen the bottom right around here. And so whenever we've seen a bottom, then I'm really looking for the early indication. So I'm looking right away for that higher high and higher low thing, and so we got to rally off of that low. It's given back some of those gains. I think that we're going to have another higher low here, and then start moving it up some more. I think that the MACD is showing that it's going from very under pressure to now starting to trend a little more positively. It hasn't made that spike up into the zero range yet, but when it does, it'll be trading probably at around 560, which is a pretty significant move from here. I'm also noticing, look at the histogram here. It's suggesting that that this is going to start going up more as well. And it's just too far under that 20-day moving average. I know you're probably not going to like this one for several reasons, but this is one that I look at. This is one that I look at as a turnaround, George.
Stay away. I said, now, if turnaround, Alan's calling a turnaround, that's good for the long term, and he's probably going to be right about that. Because look at that 1 year. You got the 1 year up there, right, Alan?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so it's been as high as 840, and anytime you have a strong fundamental company down more than 50% in the $4 range. I mean, if you want to be a long-term investor in this, based on what Alan's saying, I see that. If you want to buy now, that's great. I'd set a stop loss of $3.50, because in case it gets below that for whatever reason, it means something's going on that we don't know about, and something's going on because look at that chart price. But short-term, I think it revisits that 375 low. I really think it gets there. I think it goes back to 360. If it gets back to 360, 365, right here. So where was it on this day? So there it is right there. The low of the day was, it's not telling to me there.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, there it is. Low was 360. Low was 360. Yep. Sorry, it was. So it gets me 370, 365, 370. But I think this gets retested. Somewhere in here, this gets retested one more time. I rarely see moves like this that don't get retested here. I think it's weak. Yeah, it has the ability to turn around, but in the short term, I think you're going to have these buyers here trade into this thinking, okay, I just made a quick kill and I'm not seeing more strength, I'd be a seller right here. If I picked it off the bottom, I'd be a seller. So I think it comes back, and if we get a double bottom and it sticks, then you buy it. That's for sure. But I want to see 370 before I buy it.
Well, the only thing I can agree on about what you just said there is to put the stop in. Stop at 360. If it breaks through 360, then I think it's got more downward pressure. But if it
to be accurate, 350. To be accurate, 350, because it could get to 360 and bounce. It's shown that. So I'd set my stop loss a little below that, 353 or something like that, because then it's continuing right below that first dip, and I don't want to be a part of it. I wouldn't want to be a part of that.
Okay. Well, you know, we have these confrontations every once in a while, and I don't want to remind you.
You're 0 for 3 so far today with me, anyways. So hopefully we'll find one. But yes, Alan's trying to tell you, he'll remind you that he kicked my ass in the tax loss selling competition where I smoked a 33% return in 40 days, only to be destroyed by Alan at 47% over the same period of time. So
and a general thing, whenever we, you know, usually when we argue the opposite, I get to be right a lot.
I'll be right a lot of the short term, but over the long term, yeah. How about this? I'm going to say here that if you show me Argonaut Gold 3-4 months from now, sitting in the $5 range, sitting somewhere up here, yeah, I won't be surprised at all. I won't be surprised at all. I just want to wait for this second return to it, because I like to try and make sure I don't get sucked into a quick suckers rally. Primero mining.
You know, that's sort of what we, you know, what the opposite of what we're both looking at. You know, you're worried about what it's going to do over the next few days. I'm looking at it as a swing trade that's, you know, gotten too sold down and is going to turn to the upside. You know, there's valid points in both of those arguments.
Okay, Primero Mining P on the TSX, average volume 1.1 million a day. So that's just beautiful. We're talking about well over $7.7 million a day in liquidity. Love it. Did 800,000 on Friday. Talk to me about Primero Mining P on the TSX.
Yeah, Primero just had some news out, and I was really impressed with the results. They had a big hole there. Sorry, I got to straighten my chart out here. Yeah, they had some good news. I'm just trying to pull it up here. They drilled 35 meters of 5.6 grams per ton gold out of their Black River Matheson project near Timmins, Ontario, or they call it the Grey Fox project. And it's not isolated. They hit 31 meters of 3.6 grams, 31 meters of 6.2 grams, 16 meters of 3 grams, 10 meters of a quarter ounce per ton. You know, all these good numbers coming out of this thing, George. And Primero, this isn't their only project. They have other projects. You know, from a fundamental sense, I really like what I'm seeing out of the company. From a stock sense, we kind of had a long period here where it was going sideways, right until we got to December. It hit some lows there, or touched near the 52-week lows. It was a little bit higher than the July lows, but not significantly. And then it was just off to the races time. Look at the movement there, George, from about 440 to 880. So in a very short period of time, it doubled in price. Has given back some of those gains, which after a long period of sideways action, followed by this kind of move and then sort of turning over, you do expect some of these people that, you know, even if you bought back here, back here, back here, you're still sitting on a pretty big gain even up here. So, you know, you start getting a little bit worried when you see these, look at these days with these big swings and the big long red candle. And look at them day after day. You know, there was multiple days there where you were seeing big downward pressure. So it's understandable that there was some selling going on there. But then I think it got to the point where it was overdone right about here, touching on that 50-day moving average, and it bounced off the 50-day. It now looks like it's starting that trend upwards.
Yeah, and what I'm seeing from those wicks there, I got to tell you, it looks like it's now climbing the wall of worry. But I think that's bullish. I'd be a buyer here because I think it could potentially explode. Look at these moving averages all converging here. Everything is converging right here, right where it's at. And
that's another thing that I love to see. When I see that converging trends that George is talking about, you know, those are inflection points, and that's where I think that your understanding of the fundamentals and the long-term things that are going on with the company really come into play, because here I'm looking at an inflection point and I'm going, okay, which way is it going to go up or down? Well, I look back at what I see in the fundamentals, tells me everything's in good shape, so my guess would be that the next move is to the upside.
Yeah, so if I was trading it, I'd take a pretty strong position here. I'd set a stop loss of 675 as a trader, but I think this could potentially explode right through if it breaks through 730, it's off to the races, and it just looks like it's coiled from everything I'm seeing. So this is the first one that I'll say this is the first one that I like. Stop loss 675. Pilot Gold, we've had them on before. PLG on the TSX big board again. Does about 285,000 shares a day, so you're talking about $300,000 in daily volume. Slow day on Friday, 68,000 shares. But talk to us about Pilot Gold, who you've talked about a couple of times.
Yeah, and we've talked about him before, and we'll be talking about him again in the future. Pilot Gold has one of the best new gold discoveries that I've come across in a while down in Nevada. And they're also partnered up with Nevada Sunrise, but I'm liking the chart on PLG more as a buy right now than I am on Nevada Sunrise. They announced earlier this week that they are getting back to resume drilling at their Kinsley Mountain project, so the weather and everything is really good. They're planning on doing 25,000 meters of drilling, so they're going to be really aggressive. They're going to be putting out a lot of news. This is a wide open discovery that has lots of high-grade gold in it over thick intersections. Listen to this one hole, George, from the last drill program, 21 grams, so 3/4 of an ounce of gold over 29 meters. This isn't a 2-meter kind of intersection, George. This is 29 meters. And they're hitting these thick intersections of really good grade golds on a bunch of holes. I like this Kinsley Mountain project a lot. And so then you look back at the chart, and back here was when they started talking about their new discovery, and that was, the stock was trading, let's say, around 80 cents, and then it was just off to the races. Time got all the way up to $1.75-ish. I guess I could put my drawing line on there and find out what it was that day. Yeah, $1.75 on the high. It's given back only a little bit of those gains, George. I like that. You always need some breathers. Nothing goes straight up. These kind of moves are not sustainable. But if I see this kind of action after this kind of action, I really like it, because it maintained a good portion of its gains, and now it's doing the sideways action, so it's creating a base, and I think it goes up from that base. One thing that does concern me a little bit is this MACD. I think it's one of those actions where it could, bounce off and start moving up again, but it is a little bit concerning there. The company's got 25,000 meters of drilling coming up. They're going to be generating a lot of news. I love the project, so I think they're going to have a lot of great news that has the potential of moving this stock up quite aggressively.
Long term, I can't argue what you're saying. Short term, I'm 50-50. I'm on the fence. I don't think it's a sell. I'm not sure if it's a buy, so I'm gonna here's what I want to see, and it comes up better on your chart again than mine. But $1.30 seems to be the line in the sand here because it was resistance in early 2014. Take a look at those two big candles there early in 2014. Alan, keep on going. I can see your screen. Going to January 2014. Yeah. Just move your arrow over there. No, you're in March.
Yeah,
right there. Right. So there's resistance there. So I'm going to shift over to Alan to explain this, but where he's put his crosshairs, that was resistance, and when it broke through, now it's become support. So I want to see if it holds $1.30. So put your crosshairs back in there, Alan, and show everyone that $1.30 resistance and support area right there. Go ahead.
Okay, here's what George is talking about. So after coming off these December lows, it made a good surge up, but then it failed at that $1.30 level. So that's and that was coincidentally, you look at my line here, my horizontal line, and you can see how in the past year it hadn't traded above that. So it was creating a new high here and just failed. Gave back some of those gains, but then the next time it surged through it, it aggressively surged through it.
So and if you see it tried, look at those candlesticks before it broke through, it tested it 3 times, 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4, until it finally gapped higher. So that's a strong.
So here's what George is talking about. This action right in here. Mm-hmm. Even as it was gaining this really powerful strength here, it still wanted to hit its head at around that $1.30 line, but then it finally broke through. Now we want to see that creates what was formerly sort of the roof or the resistance. Mm-hmm. We want to see that now becomes the basement or the floor, and becomes where their support is, and that's what we're seeing here. As it just touched down for one day, it hit that $1.30, and it bounced right off of that. Now it's tested it sort of, but a little higher at around $1.34. So that's a very bullish sign.
All right, so we'll leave it at that. That's what I want to see. I might be a buyer right here in the low $1.31, $1.32, $1.34 range, but a really tight stop, $1.26, $1.25. If it gets there, I stop out, because otherwise I think it has a chance to shoot right back up, because it's a great fundamental story, and I think that's going to be hard for people to sell based on those numbers. I think you got traders that are selling here. But I would be a buyer on Monday, and with $1.25 as my stop loss. Next up, I want to talk about Avalon Rare Metals. That was my pick during tax loss selling season. That was the one pick that didn't make it.
These ones, George, these aren't really picks, right? They're more talking points. These next couple companies.
I'm thinking of making Avalon a pick here. I like it. I really like it.
All right. What's the symbol again?
AVL in the U.S. because it's AVL in Toronto. It's also AVL in the U.S. But while Alan's getting that up, you should be able to see my crosshairs right here. Okay, so here on the top right-hand corner, I'm going to place it at where it closed the other day, and take a look at that. Okay, if you look right across, this has been a pretty strong support level right back to last July. This low 50s area. And here we are in the 52-cent area in the U.S. So this is a buy for me right here. It would have to break below these lows here, 46. So I would probably set a 44-cent stop loss in case something happened. But otherwise, I'm a big-time buyer. I'm going to buy this for sure and sit on it, because take a look at that. Let me take a look at the advanced chart for a second. I'll swing this over and see if it tells me anything else. See, take a look at RSI, okay? The 9-day RSI is at 27. All right, that tells me a lot. It's towards the weaker end. The 14-day RSI is 30, so it's still got, it's not oversold, but not that far off. The Stoch D, the percentage D is at 14. That's way oversold based on that one there. Take a look at the histogram right here. It's flattened out. It was weak, and this is a big time basing period right here that you can see. So this is one of those where this is my pick. I love it for so many reasons. I'm a buyer. I think this makes us a lot of money in the near term. So I'm a buyer for sure on Monday, anywhere in this low 50s. I think you got the U.S. chart up. You got the Canadian chart up. That's why it's showing 58.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, you got.
Yeah, but they follow same action, George.
Sure.
What I like about this pick is that I like rare earth, this project that they have, and I think it's going to be a future mine. It's in the Northwest Territories. Avalon's got a really solid project. And I would also add that George is very good at picking the bottom on this stock.
I've done it a few times. It's cha-ching for me 3 or 4 times the last year and a half. I got to tell you, it's been a what do they call it? It's been the kids with it's been a piggy. It's been an ATM machine for me.
Yeah, there you go, and yeah, it's and if you wanted to hear that, George always makes that pick on Twitter. So follow George at Agoracom and me at Alan B Reports on Twitter, because we do chat a lot on Twitter when we make. Sometimes we don't have time for a show, and we just have some comments that we do a little back and forth. So if you follow both of us, you'll see that interaction. But yeah, George has been very good with Avalon, and I'm not going to argue against that.
And I got to tell you, incredibly strong fundamentally speaking. It's got a floor in it just because of the massive size of its rare deposits in North America, out there in the Northwest Territories, I believe.
Right.
It's just too strong. That's not going to go anywhere, given that we need rare metals. It's not going anywhere. I'm going to buy this all the way, because one day, mark my words, Alan, I told this to everybody I knew when I first found out about Avalon, when they were my client at 12 or 15 cents 10 years ago. I said, you could buy that stock at 12, 15 cents, put it in a closet, don't think about it, come back 10 years later, and you have 10 times your money. And I was wrong, because you would have had 100 times your money. It peaked out at $10 US at its peak a couple of years ago. So you would have made 1,000 times your money on that. I did very well on it, that's for sure. It didn't hold up to $10, that's for sure, but made very good money on it.
As you were talking there, George, you brought up a really good point about rare earth elements in Canada or North America. Most of that production comes from China. They have really cornered the market on it, and we don't have a lot of. We have a lot of demand for those rare earths in North America, but we're kind of beholden to China. So having a source in North America is very important.
This is one, guys. I'm going to take this to the bank. Short of something happened to rare metals, which is impossible given the penetration of electronic devices into our lives.
Well, unless everybody stops using smartphones and tablets and smart watches and smart.
So unless we have a sunburst that wipes out all electronics and we all go back to Stone Age, this is one I would probably bet my house on. If I had to, but I won't, and nobody at home should. But this is one where I'd feel comfortable buying 100,000 shares, literally locking in a closet and not looking at it for 10 years, because this is going to make someone $1 million. It's going to make someone $1 million one day.
You bet the house, and the wife's going to kick you out to the doghouse and tell you that's the only house you're betting.
Yeah. Plus, you know what? I got to make sure you're right. I've got to make sure I disclaim that thought, because no one should ever bet the house on anything in the world. I never have, that's for sure. But I want to make sure goes and mortgages the house and buys Avalon on Monday. But I love that. I could easily buy 100,000 shares of that, like I said, sit back, and probably make me $500,000 10 years from now with my eyes closed by not working at all. So last one we're going to bring up is Fission Uranium. $1.13 is where it closed. So anybody who's been watching Fission and watching the show knows how much Alan especially likes Fission. I've traded out of it a few times. I've expressed to everyone my concerns on the weakness. I've been very loud about that, very, very concerned about it. And look what happened. All the way down there, you and I were debating that one, Alan. You got to give me credit for that.
Yes, absolutely.
We were debating all the way down. Every time it kept on breaking through, I kept on saying something's wrong here, and Alan said I'm crazy. And here we are on Friday, so we'll bring up the one day. Actually, bring up a bigger version here and show everybody. I'm gonna bring this in. So I'll show a 5-day here to put into perspective. But look at that, got down to $1.04. All right, so we knew something was going on. Now, nothing specifically is wrong with fission, but and I'm going to leave that chart up there, and I'm going to bring up an article. And you can see that there, right?
George, as you're doing that, why this came out is because, whenever this kind of action happens, where you see this kind of action in a really great project, you have to wonder. George says, well, what does the market know that we don't know? And whenever I get that kind of question, I always go back to the fundamentals. And George asks me that, and I say, well, George, the high-grade uranium hasn't gone anywhere. The drill hole intersections of high-grade haven't gone anywhere. So what can the market know that we don't know? Now, in this case, it could be someone who owns a big position got scared and has said, well, I bought way back here at 50 cents or something. Why not, just take my position out? I can't explain why, from a fundamental perspective, why this is happening. This is a phenomenal discovery. They've got 4 zones that they've been drilling and hitting extremely high-grade uranium close to surface, and those 4 zones are coalescing into one zone, and as they hit that one zone, they're getting their thickest intersections of the highest grades. So, I'm always if I've got to choose between the fundamentals or the technical indicators, and I can only choose one, I'll always go with the fundamentals. And the fundamentals just tell me that this is a world-class discovery that's going to be taken out by a major mining company in the not-too-distant future.
And yet, though, it's down 42 as of Friday. On that low there is down 42% from its high, and in a hurry, by the way, because it was there in April. All right, so we're talking in just over a month. Now, here's what I want to talk about. Why is it down? We know the company's strong. Alan has told you that. There's nothing going on there that's anything but great. Okay, that's fantastic. So, but I kept on saying all the way down, what does the market know that we don't know? What does the market know that we don't know? So here is a headline from May 8th. Cameco sees 18 months for uranium producers before upturn. And further here it says, so this is this from Cameco said, the industry will struggle for the next 18 months before prices recover. Okay, so they go on. The next 18 months were going to be a very difficult time. So clearly, I think this is one of those cases where somebody knows that this kind of prediction is going to come out. I know it. I've seen it in Apple. I made the call in Apple. It was trading at $575. I had calls in it. It was performing the way it should, and then all of a sudden one day it just stopped performing the way it should have. This is way back, by the way, a year and a half ago. And I went on StockTwits and I said, I'm selling my calls, taking my smaller profit than I should have because something's going wrong. The market knows something. And people thought I was insane. Said, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And lo and behold, 30 days later, a report comes out that Apple had told its suppliers in China to slow down their screen. I believe is their production of screens, which means that they're expecting lower demand for their products. And by then, the stock was trading at $500, all right, which is a massive dip for something like Apple. So I think definitely, and Al, I want to talk to you about this, but I know that this is what happened here, okay, because there's no reason for the sell-off before this. So I think someone knew that Cameco was going to make this call. I wouldn't be surprised if it was strategic, and Cameco's kind of talking its own book at the end of the day because they wouldn't mind seeing some great uranium. They know, even in here, they talk about in the long term, they expect the uranium to take off. All right, they're expecting that. Let's see, the industry expects to have 93 new reactors come to operation over the next 10 years. So I think, what do they care about the next 18 months if the next 10 years look so great? I think this is their last chance. This is Cameco's last chance, and the majors out there, all the big boys. I know it sounds like conspiracy, but damn it, it is 100% true. Don't think the big guys ever want the little guys to make money. They'll squash them if they can. And I think this is Cameco saying the next 10 years is going to be great. So let's see who we can squash in the next 12 months, pick up our last chance at a fire sale, because we're going to make a ton of money off it in the next 10 years. And that's why you saw Fission take a hit. You tell me what you think.
Well, you bring up a very good point, George, and I've been in this business for 20 years, and I tend to agree, and I don't think people really understand how confrontational the relationship is between the junior mining sector and the major mining companies. The major mining companies will often, and I've seen it multiple times over my career, make these kind of bearish comments, and I often believe that it's just for their own benefit. Like you said, what does Cameco really care? So their stock dips 10%.
2%, and it's only declined 2% this year. So would they really care to come out and say anything? 2%? Geez, Facebook does that on daily swings, for God's sakes.
Management is still making all the money that they'll make. The shareholders aren't concerned. But who does this? Who does this cost? It costs the juniors like a Fission to get weaker, and they love that because now they think that they can come in and buy it on the cheap. They're not going to get this one on the cheap. As soon as one company puts a bid in for Fission, there will be 3 others that put in a bid.
Yeah, because they're all going to look at 10 years. They're all going to look at 10 years from now.
Exactly, and then you do look at that 10-year scenario and with uranium, and for many years we've been producing about, I want to say about 35% less than the demand. Now, what's been filling that gap has been the decommissioning of nuclear weapons. That source is not going to last forever.
It's drying up now. It's drying up now, right now as we speak.
Exactly, it's drying up, and then in the next 10 years, like they say, there's 90 new reactors. So where is that production going to come from? Then you look at the discoveries, and yeah, I've picked a few great ones. Hathor was a great discovery. Fission's a great discovery, but that's over a 2-3 year period, George. What's happening in that 2-3 year period? The mining companies are mining a Hathor and a Fission every year, and how are they replacing it? There needs to be more Hathor and Fission discoveries that they can produce going into that long-term demand period.
And let me freeze you right there. So this is interesting what they say in the article further down. So this is Tim Gitzel, President and CEO of Cameco. So further down he says, quote, demand for the atomic fuel will eventually outstrip supply as Cameco focuses on the market's long-term prospects. All right, so they're already telling you they know that demand is going to outstrip supply. They're telling you they know this right now. So what
actually,
they care about what's going to happen in the next 18 months other than they just want to, they're trying to mess around with the market to drive down all those companies in the Athabasca Basin there to see if they can get some last-minute cheap stock and cheap shares out of these companies. Cheap ownership to buy them outright.
That comment is actually even more bullish than initially you might think, George, because they're not putting it into context. We are, and have been for many years, producing this much and demanding this much. Now, the only thing, that's 125 million pounds of production, 175 million pounds of demand. What's filling that gap is the decommissioning of nuclear weapons. So technically, we're not demanding more than the supply is. We're mining more than the production supply is. But what he's saying is that within that 10 years, we're actually going to demand more than the production and the decommissioning, because that's all he's considering that all supply. We're going to go above all supply in the next 10 years. So who's going to make up that gap?
Who's the market? Because if you're a holder, and this is what's going to happen. He who controls the uranium controls the universe. That's the quote. And I'll tell you what pisses me off. Just further down, he says, well, he happens to be somewhere in Africa, in Namibia, to start the mining operations for this massive mine that they're investing $2 billion into in order to, quote, be a key supplier for Chinese nuclear power plants. So, you know what? F you is what I almost want to say. You're down there because you're putting $2 billion into a project that's going to become fully operational by 2017. But in the meantime, coincidentally, you're telling everyone, but the next 2 years is going to be kind of rough for all of you guys out there. You know what? To hell with comments like that in the media, and people pick this up. I'm buying Fission on Monday as you know, George, Cameco and all these other guys.
That's where it really pays to have someone with a good memory who understands the industry inside and out, and the fundamentals inside and out, because I can pick through that article and I can tell you where he's being deceptive. If you don't know the industry inside and out, you're going to read that and go, oh no, I better sell my uranium stocks, especially the juniors. Get rid of them.
Yeah, you want to be a buyer right now. You want to be a buyer. You know, the last time I got this pissed off, and I'm using that kind of language because I am, and I don't do that very much on the show, was when Ben Bernanke, back in 2000, back during the dot-com, right after the dot-com crash, all right, and the U.S. was in a little bit of trouble there, but it was before 9/11, I believe. It was before 9/11. In around that time, he went on a world central bank tour, and he was convincing every bank to sell some or all of their gold out of their gold reserves. And this when gold was trading at a ridiculous price. And I was banging the table saying, why is he going around trying to get everyone to sell their gold and buy U.S. bonds? Because that's what he wanted. He needed to flip money out of gold and have some pick up his crappy bonds, even though they've actually gone up in value, but the yield has dropped substantially. But at the time, I was banging the table saying, "This
they're horribly risky.
It makes no sense whatsoever." Yeah, to go out of gold and go into these U.S. bonds that are nothing backed by the U.S. printing press at the end of the day. And you know what? I banged the table saying, you should be buying gold right now, not selling gold, because he's out there trying to get it away from you. And he was wrong, and look where it is today. And I think we're going to say the same thing about good old Tim Gitzel in a couple of years, where we're going to look at uranium prices and companies. So that's a wrap. You want to talk about that? Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead, Alan.
And that's something to pay attention to. Every time I've seen these high-profile people come out and make Barrick used to do this. During the 90s, they used to do this all the time. They'd be talking down the industry, talking about how terrible gold juniors are and all this sort of stuff. And it was for their own benefit. You've got to understand, people, when these big, high-profile people come out and make these kind of comments, they're only doing it to talk their own book. They're not doing it for any other reason. And you have to pay attention to those, because those create opportunities.
Yeah, because who really says those kind of things to potentially hurt themselves? Well, he knows Cameco's not going to get hurt. Stock's down 2%. Look at Fission, down 41% in the last month. So he's willing to lose 3, 4, 5 points all day long, because he's not going to lose more than that. So he can pick up companies in the Athabasca base for 50, 60% cheaper if possible. That's a huge win for him, right? So sorry, Cameco, but I call bullshit on your market call when you're telling us in the same out of these other side of your mouth that 10 years from now, over the next 10 years, demand's going to outstrip supply, and I'm putting $2 billion into uranium. Come on, I mean, this is just, you're crazy when you say things like this, right? I mean, why isn't he telling people? Think about this. Why isn't he telling people, hey everyone, I'm down here in Namibia right now. I'm plunking $2 billion down into a uranium project, and you should all be doing the same, because I don't invest $2 billion unless I think it's going to return me $2 billion times X over the next 10 years. Why else would I be doing this? Am I an idiot? No. So why isn't he saying that? Because I just call bullshit on Cameco, and I hate when I see stuff like that, and I hate to see that Fission uranium investors probably got smoked.
Well, you know what, George, it happens all the time, and you have to be aware of that. And you know, the other indicator, George, it's usually when the top, let's say 1 to 3 in any industry, start making those kind of comments. In the gold business back in the 90s, it was Barrick. They were #1. Cameco, #1 in uranium. And they're making these short-term kind of calls that scare the market when you're looking down the food chain. And that's exactly what they want to do, because then they feel like they have the opportunity to pick and choose wherever they can. It failed dramatically for Barrick in the 90s. They've spent the last decade, as the price of gold's gone up, they've gone sideways. They talk a lot about, oh, this company, that company, but that's the reality. You're the #1 gold producer in the world as far as production numbers go. Why is your stock going sideways? People have a long memory, and people will have a memory for a Cameco too. They have a problem cutting checks, and they've been getting beaten out on some of these new discoveries. Maybe they're tired of that.
Yeah, you're right. There you go. All right, man. So we can go on about this, but I think everyone's got the point, and hopefully it's been very educational for everyone at home. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Another great show. Remember, as always, Al and I always disclose our any what's the word I'm looking for? Any conflicts. Any conflict. So none of these companies were our clients, and none of these companies are anything that we hold shares in right now, but you have an idea of what I'm going to do in the next couple of days. And again, I'm going to repeat it. Don't follow me and Alan just because we're doing what we do. Our risk tolerance is significantly different from all of yours. Talk to your financial advisor, talk to your spouse, talk to whoever you got to talk to. Assume Al and I are horribly conflicted all the time. Don't base any decision on what we're saying, but use it as a base to start your homework. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on next week.
You bet. Everybody, have a great, enjoy your weekend. We'll talk to you soon.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, yes, to all the great mothers out there. I've got, my mom's the greatest. She raised me and my brother all on her own. She's my hero, and I'm sure everybody else has their mother as a hero, so give them an extra hug from us.
Yeah, well, your mother can't be the greatest because my mother's the greatest.
There you go.
Hey, by the way, everyone should watch the video this week. The Oklahoma, oh man, what's his name? That's that unbelievable basketball player. I can't believe I don't have it on. He just got awarded the MVP award. So if you want to watch something great for Mother's Day, I'm going to leave you with this. He was, I can't believe it. Come on, I'm having a memory blank here. He was awarded the MVP a couple of days ago of the NBA. And
Durant.
Durant. There you go. Thank you, Durant. And his mother was in the audience, and he said to her, "You put food on our table, clothes on our back. You went to bed hungry. You raised us by ourselves." And he looked at her and said, and he was breaking down. So this is a big man. I mean, Durant, just a giant of a man, right? He's just hunched over, breaking down. He says, "You're the MVP," and he meant it from his heart. He's holding the MVP. He says, and she just broke down. You know what? That was awesome to see. So happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. See you guys.
All those MVP moms out there. We love you.